Most men don't question hard work. They question themselves. When life doesn't move forward, they assume the problem is personal. I'm not working hard enough. I'm not disciplined enough. I'm falling behind. That belief is not accidental. It was taught. For generations, men were raised on a simple promise. Work hard and life will reward you. Not immediately, not easily, but eventually. That promise shaped identities. It shaped pride. It shaped what men were willing to tolerate. Long hours, delayed gratification, sacrifice without complaint. Because hard work wasn't just effort, it was meaning. It gave men dignity. It gave men status. It gave men hope. And for a long time, it worked. Hard work used to create leverage. It moved men closer to decision-making. It turned effort into authority. But something changed, quietly, gradually, without announcement. Hard work didn't disappear. It multiplied. Everyone works hard now. Everyone is busy. Everyone is exhausted. And yet, power did not spread with effort. It concentrated. This is the contradiction modern men live inside. They are doing more than ever, but controlling less than ever. They are productive, but replaceable. Responsible, but not in charge. This is why so many men feel a tension they can't name. They sense that the rules are still being enforced, but the rewards no longer match the sacrifice. They are keeping their end of the deal. The system is not. This video is not about motivation. It's not about laziness. And it's not an argument against work. It's an examination of why the promise attached to hard work no longer produces power. Henry Ford understood this shift before most men ever felt it. He didn't just change how work was done. He changed what work meant. He understood that systems don't reward effort. They reward alignment. And once you understand that, you stop asking why you're tired. You start asking a more dangerous question. Who is my hard work really serving? That question is where power begins, or where illusion finally ends. For hard work to create power, one condition must exist: scarcity. Hard work only creates leverage when not everyone is doing it. In the past, effort was rare. Endurance was rare. Reliability was rare. So when a man showed up consistently, when he stayed late, when he sacrificed comfort for output, he stood out. Systems noticed him, not because they were fair, but because they needed him. Factories needed men who wouldn't quit. Businesses needed men who wouldn't drift. Institutions needed men who could be depended on. Effort created leverage because effort reduced risk. The man who worked hardest became valuable not for his ideas, but for his predictability. And predictability used to be scarce. That is no longer true. Today, hard work is everywhere. Everyone is reachable. Everyone is available. Everyone is expected to respond. Technology removed the ceiling on effort. Work no longer ends when the day ends. It follows men home. It lives in their pockets. It waits for them at night. So effort multiplied. And when effort multiplied, its value collapsed. Not morally, structurally. When everyone is working hard, hard work stops being a differentiator. It becomes a requirement. This is the moment leverage disappears. Because leverage comes from contrast. If everyone sacrifices, sacrifice loses meaning. If everyone is disciplined, discipline becomes invisible. If everyone is busy, busyness stops signaling importance. Modern systems adapted to this instantly. They didn't reward effort more, they normalized it. Hard work became the baseline expectation, not excellence, not leadership, not authority, just participation. This is why men feel like they're running faster, but staying in the same place. They are increasing output inside a system that already assumes maximum effort, so nothing changes. This is also why hard work now feels heavier than it used to. Not because men became weaker, but because effort stopped moving the needle. When effort no longer creates distance between you and others, it no longer creates power. It only creates fatigue. This is where Henry Ford's insight becomes critical. Ford understood that effort itself was not the source of power. Control of process was. He didn't reward men for trying harder. He redesigned the system so that effort flowed in one direction, and whoever controlled that direction controlled the outcome. Ford's factories didn't make men powerful. They made production powerful. And production power did not belong to the worker. It belonged to the system. This was the turning point. From that moment forward, hard work became fuel, not leverage. Fuel is essential, but fuel never decides where the machine goes. The machine does. And modern men are trained to be excellent fuel. They are punctual. They are consistent. They are efficient. But they do not control the engine. This is why effort feels endless. There is no finish line. No moment where a man can say, "I've worked enough. Now I decide." Because the system was never designed to convert effort into authority. It was designed to extract output while keeping decision-making centralized. This is not conspiracy. It is design. And once you see this, you stop asking why you're tired. You understand why you're replaceable. Hard work lost leverage the moment it stopped being rare. Power has always followed direction. Not effort, not intention. Direction. The man who decides where work goes will always outrank the man who does the work well. This is the part most men are never taught. They are trained to optimize execution, not to question direction. From school onward, success is defined the same way. Follow instructions accurately, meet expectations, deliver on time. Men who do this well are praised. They are called disciplined, reliable, professional. But none of these traits grant authority. They grant trust. And trust keeps you inside the role you already occupy. This is how direction quietly leaves a man's hands. He becomes excellent at moving forward without ever choosing where forward is. Modern systems are built to separate these two functions. Decision-making lives at the top. Execution lives everywhere else. And hard work is concentrated at the bottom. The more effort a role requires, the less control it usually has. This is not coincidence. This is efficiency. Systems centralize direction to minimize unpredictability. They don't want many people deciding. They want many people executing. This is why men who work the hardest often have the least say. Their energy is too valuable to be wasted on choice. Choice introduces friction. Choice introduces delay. Choice introduces risk. Effort does not. Effort is controllable. This is the uncomfortable truth. Hard work makes you useful. Direction makes you powerful. And usefulness is easier to replace than power. Henry Ford understood this distinction clearly. He didn't just streamline labor, he isolated decision-making. Workers didn't choose pace, they didn't choose process, they didn't choose outcome. They chose only whether to show up. Everything else was decided upstream. This allowed Ford to scale production without scaling authority. Millions of men could work hard without any of them gaining control. That model didn't disappear. It became the template. Modern corporations, institutions, and even digital platforms operate on the same principle. They distribute effort and centralize direction. This is why men feel constrained even when they perform well. They sense that no matter how good they become, they remain downstream. They don't own timing. They don't own priorities. They don't own outcomes. They are allowed to improve execution, but never to redirect flow. And when a man cannot redirect flow, he cannot accumulate power. He can accumulate income, he can accumulate responsibility, he can accumulate stress, but not authority. This is why ambition slowly mutates into compliance. At first, men push hard because they believe effort leads upward. Later, they push hard because stopping feels dangerous. Direction has already been decided, so the safest move is to keep moving. This is how men become trapped without being restrained. They are free to work, but not free to decide. And freedom without decision is not freedom. It is managed motion. This is the core misunderstanding of modern work. Men think they lack motivation. They don't. They lack control over direction. And no amount of hard work can compensate for that. If losing control feels so costly, why do so many men accept it? Because the trade doesn't feel like a loss at first. It feels like relief. Modern systems don't force men into submission. They offer comfort in exchange for control. And comfort is seductive. Comfort looks like stability, a predictable paycheck, clear expectations, defined hours, a role that doesn't require constant decision-making. For a man who has been working hard for years, this feels like safety, not because it expands his life, but because it reduces uncertainty. Uncertainty is stressful. Choice is exhausting. Responsibility for direction is heavy. So when a system says, just do your part, we'll handle the rest, many men accept without resistance. This is not weakness. It is human. The problem is that comfort compounds. The longer a man stays inside a comfortable structure, the more expensive it becomes to leave. Skills narrow. Risk tolerance drops. Identity adapts. He doesn't just do the role. He becomes the role. And once identity locks in, control becomes terrifying. Because changing direction would require admitting that comfort had a cost. This is where men rationalize. They say they are being responsible. They say they are being realistic. They say they are protecting their families, all of which can be true, but still incomplete. Because responsibility without control slowly turns into quiet resentment, not loud rebellion, not dramatic collapse, just a subtle sense that life is smaller than it could have been. This is why so many men feel trapped, even when nothing is technically wrong. The job is fine. The income is fine. The routine works. But something essential is missing. That missing element is ownership. Ownership over time. Ownership over direction. Ownership over risk. Comfort removes the need to decide, but it also removes the ability. And the longer that ability goes unused, the harder it is to reclaim. This is why comfort is more dangerous than pressure. Pressure forces men to adapt. Comfort encourages them to settle. Henry Ford understood this dynamic well. He didn't motivate men with inspiration. He motivated them with stability. Higher wages, shorter hours, predictable schedules. These were revolutionary benefits, but they also served a purpose. They reduced friction. Men no longer needed to question the system because the system felt fair. Comfort replaced confrontation, and once comfort is accepted, control quietly slips away. This is how obedience becomes voluntary, not because men are ordered to comply, but because compliance feels easier than uncertainty. This trade is rarely conscious. No man wakes up and says, I will give up control today. He says, I'll just stay a little longer. I'll deal with it later. Now is not the right time. And years pass. Comfort accumulates. Options decay. By the time a man realizes what he traded away, leaving feels irresponsible. This is the final lock. Not force, not fear. Comfort. And comfort, once normalized, is the hardest thing to walk away from. Understanding why hard work no longer creates power is only the first step. Awareness alone does not change outcomes. What matters is what a man does after he sees the structure clearly. This is where most discussions stop short. They diagnose the problem but never address the shift required. Because reclaiming power does not mean working harder in a different direction. It means changing your relationship to direction itself. The moment a man understands that power follows direction, not effort, his priorities begin to reorganize. He stops asking, "How can I be more productive?" and starts asking, "Where does my effort actually accumulate?" This is a dangerous question because it reveals uncomfortable truths. It reveals when effort is being spent maintaining stability rather than building leverage. It reveals when discipline is serving routines instead of expanding options. And it reveals when hard work has become a substitute for decision-making. Henry Ford's real insight was not efficiency, it was asymmetry. He understood that the person who designs the system captures the power of everyone working inside it. The worker adds energy. The system captures value. This is not inherently evil, but it becomes limiting when a man never moves closer to design. Reclaiming direction does not require rebellion. It does not require quitting tomorrow. It does not require reckless risk. It requires clarity. Clarity about where decisions are made. Clarity about who benefits from consistency. Clarity about what your effort is reinforcing. Power begins to return the moment effort becomes intentional, not reactive, not habitual, not inherited from expectation. Intentional. This is where men must be honest. Most men don't lack discipline, they lack ownership. They are disciplined at executing plans they did not create. They are consistent in routines that serve someone else's vision. They are reliable inside structures that do not expand their control. This is not failure, but it is a ceiling. Reclaiming direction means slowly shifting from execution toward positioning. Positioning is not about title. It is about proximity to decisions, proximity to leverage, proximity to ownership. This shift happens gradually. A man begins to protect his attention. He becomes selective with commitment. He notices where effort compounds and where it evaporates. He stops over-investing in places that only reward obedience, and he starts allocating energy toward areas that increase optionality. Optionality is the true currency of power, the ability to say no, the ability to pivot, the ability to choose timing. Hard work can support this, but only when paired with direction. Without direction, hard work simply deepens dependency. This is why the goal is not to escape systems. It is to understand them. A man who understands systems is no longer controlled by them unconsciously. He can participate strategically. He can decide when to comply and when to reposition. This is the difference between obedience and agency. Obedience is blind alignment. Agency is conscious alignment. Henry Ford did not build power by working harder than others. He built power by deciding how work would flow, and that lesson remains unchanged. Effort is abundant. Direction is rare, and rarity is where leverage lives. If this video challenged your assumptions, that is intentional, because the purpose was never comfort, it was clarity. In the next video, We will go deeper into how systems condition men to obey, not through force, but through reward, identity, and normalization. Once you see that process clearly, you stop blaming yourself for feeling stuck, and you start seeing the exits that were always there, but invisible.